Well, welcome everyone to what I believe is our fourth in the series of expanding career options in the life sciences. This program started, to my recollection, it started thanks to COVID. And in our pre-apprenticeship, one of the things, we have a three-track program. Our participants go through track one, which is work readiness skills, including some workshops, either in person, which this group was in person, or virtually. And then track two, where they get a chance to go on to a program called Biotech Primer and select different areas within the life sciences that they'd like to learn about. And then track three, where we want to bring them together with real live employers, people working in the industry. And as you can tell from the group and from prior groups, if you ever want to see them, they're on our South Bay Workforce Investment Board YouTube channel. We try to find people who are in sectors that maybe many students have not thought about. And by students, I'm using that word very loosely. It could be anybody that is interested in learning, no matter what your age or level of education, or whether you're in any kind of educational program now. But we want to expand the opportunities within the life sciences. So the 5 people, we may just end up with 4, but the 5 people that you see on your screen obviously represent different types of industries within the life sciences and represent different pathways, different career pathways within the life sciences. So we're going to let them speak for themselves for the most part. I'm going to just guide this. Are there any housekeeping notes, Donovan or Amelia?
No.
Just a
No?
reminder that that captions and translation is available at the bottom of your screen. If you click on captions, then you should be able to access it.
Okay. And also, just so our panelists know, we do have a little timer button that will come up to help keep us within our time slot so that we get through as much as possible within the short period of time in respect of everybody's time, and it is going into the evening. So first of all, I would like to ask each speaker, and I'll call your name, to just tell us, obviously, your name, what your role is, and what your company or organization does briefly. Don't get into your careers or any of that yet, but just a brief overview so that our attendees can understand a little bit about you and particularly your company. Okay, so why don't we start with Oliver, since I see you on my screen first.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Oliver Badali. I work for a company named Delicate Cosmetics, and Delicate Cosmetics is a cosmetics manufacturer. So we are both a laboratory and a factory for manufacturing and producing skincare, hair care, color cosmetics, bath and body type of products. And so we develop the formulas. So the lab coat folks, the chemists here, develop the formulas. And then when the client, the different respective brands that exist in the marketplace, when they approve the formula, then they place the orders. And then that goes to the factory part of the company where we manufacture the big batches, we fill it, do the final assembly and pack out. And then it goes to places like Sephora, Ulta, department stores, Amazon, QVC, where all of you and us get to purchase and enjoy these products.
That's amazing, and I think that this is one of the most interesting sectors because obviously we think of cosmetics, especially men and women think of cosmetics, and we don't think about what it takes to get it to the shelf. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Heather. How about you?
Sure. I'm Heather Wilson. I'm an Associate Director of Quality Management Systems at a company called Xencor. We're located in LA and also San Diego. So my role within the Quality Assurance Department primarily focuses on managing software and information systems that are used to support our quality programs. And Xencor is a research and development stage biotech. And we're advancing a broad range of potential medicines to benefit patients with cancer and autoimmune diseases. And internally, and along with our pharmaceutical partners, we have more than 20 drug candidates in clinical trials right now And 3 therapeutic antibodies that were developed with our technology are now in the market.
Whoops, fascinating. Thank you. And let's go to the C's. Meghan, please introduce yourself and your organization.
Hi, everyone. My name is Meghan Reilly, and I'm the Education and Outreach Associate for the North American Marine Environment Protection Association, also known as NAMEPA. So our organization, we're a not-for-profit, so what we do is we educate both the maritime industry and the general public, students, educators, and everyone that we can about the maritime industry and creating a sustainable maritime industry, as well as educating seafarers on what they can be doing better. We pass out materials to teachers and students free of charge that we have on our website so we can get it into the hands of many people. We have a program known as Adopt a Ship, where you can actually adopt a ship in your local school and follow it throughout the world, talk with the captain, see what he's doing. But we like to educate everyone that we can on sustaining seas and saving our seas.
Fabulous. And we will be sharing websites and so on as a follow-up. Raygena, tell us about what you do and what your organization is.
Yes, good afternoon or good evening, everyone. My name is Raygena Smith, and I am the Youth Engagement Coordinator for the historic project that's currently being built at LAX right now, the Automated People Mover Project, and my role is Youth Engagement Coordinator. So what does that mean? I connect youth and young adults to industry experts that currently work on historic projects, such as the People Mover Project, the SoFi Stadium, the Intuit Dome, which is the Clipper Stadium, and bring awareness to different STEM pathways as well as construction pathways, and connect you to industry experts to make sure you are well equipped to go into those particular career pathways. In addition to that, we host scholarships, youth summits, we participate in career fairs, and make sure that our youth are just well equipped for the particular career they get into, if it is a STEM pathway or construction pathway. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, great. So we're going to go on to our next section, which is titled Career Options. So basically we had our our introductions. We're going to talk about career options. Then we're going to talk about the pathways, how our panelists got where they are. And then we'll have some final thoughts at the end. So let's go on to the career options. We're going to ask each panelist about 3 to 4 minutes each, and we will show you the timer. If you could each briefly describe the variety of growing career pathways related to your overall business, focusing on entry-level opportunities, the required skills and experience or education, and how you suggest the folks listening in now and will be listening to our recordings, how they should prepare for these opportunities. So this time I'm going to start with Raygena. And Raygena, if you could focus on the sustainability end of the construction projects, that would be great.
Absolutely. So one of the main careers that we have in our particular aspect is BIM managers, which is the 3D model design. And so they're in charge of creating the design for the project and making sure that it is sustainable, making sure that they're, some of the trains that we're designed to use are eliminating hazardous substances and toxic emissions. We're also working on incorporating solar carports, so that's another part of it. In addition to that, we're in charge of the maintenance. So we have maintenance managers and technician managers who help with making sure that it's operating 365 days out the year once the project is completed. We also have cost managers and project managers who are in charge of making sure that the project is ran and is designed to enhance the user's basically, I can't really think of the term, but it basically generates and incorporates solar carports that will have the power demand and overall eliminate hazardous substance and toxic emissions for the project. Some of the skills that are associated with the particular project is, of course, communicating effectively, working as a team, critical thinking and reasoning. And of course, in STEM, math. You always have to have your math skills pretty sharp. Strength and stamina is another skill set that we require, and of course, working well with others. And another one that I like to tie into this particular project is enjoying what you do. What does that mean? Make sure that you enjoy it, something that you have to wake up at 5 a.m. and do, or 6 a.m. to do. and you actually don't mind working well with others or don't mind communicating effectively to design a project. And yeah, does that answer the question, Deborah?
It sounds to me, do we have any questions since you still have 2 minutes on your time slot? None at the moment? Okay. Okay, well and thank you. That was really comprehensive. Thank you very much.
No problem.
How about in the marine environmental sciences, Megan, what would you say would be the growing career pathways and how you get there?
Sure. So with NAMEPA, we channel both the maritime industry. So you have your ship captains, you have your first mates, you have your engineers on vessels. So if you choose to go more of the maritime side, that is an opportunity as well. So that's, with the ferries, working on cargo, oil tankers, LNG tankers, things like that. If you want to go the more marine science side, which is the side that I went, there is working in aquariums, you're educating. So educating people on marine sciences, talking about what's happening in the ocean with climate change, ocean acidification. There's also working on the environmental EPA side. So you're working on cleaning up oil spills, you're working with the public to make power plants, nuclear power plants, refineries more safe, more environmentally friendly, and have a lower carbon footprint in general. And there's a lot of entry-level positions with this as well. A lot of aquariums do offer volunteer programs, internships that you can take if you wanted to start something early on. A lot of those start as young as 15. You could also go more at the research side, lab side. You want to be researching vessels or researching the marine sciences, working with animals, researching what's going on in the marine environment, how our effect is what it's having on the ocean, what it's having on those marine mammals and other organisms in the ocean. There's also aquaculture, so we have farming of marine animals. So you've got your oyster farms, scallop farms, you've got things like that that need people as well. So we've got a wide variety of different options to choose from that you can go into if you wanted to go more maritime side or if you wanted to go more scientific on one side.
That is a plethora of opportunities.
Yes.
It's wonderful. That's really great. And I know in here in the LA area, we have the ports, two major ports. We have a great aquarium, plus a lot of smaller aquariums. So the opportunities right here are wonderful. And I don't think we told everybody where you are physically.
I'm physically right now in Massachusetts, but NAMEPA is based out of Weston, Connecticut. So I am on the east side. So it's 7:30 here.
Yeah, so thank you for doing this. We appreciate it. But it is a national organization.
Yes, it is. So we cover all of North America, it's Canada included.
Great. Let's go on to Heather in Xencor or pharma in general. If you could talk about career opportunities, growing pathways.
There's a lot of them. Working where I do in a biotech company, or if you're looking at a pharmaceutical company, there are a lot of entry-level positions. And really preparing for them really depends on where you want to go in the organization. So to start out with, on the more scientific side, there are going to be positions where you're working in a lab, running assays, maybe preparing reagents. For something like that, you would be looking at going to college, getting a 4-year degree in a scientific discipline, something like molecular biology, chemistry, biochemistry. And usually within the university, there are going to be opportunities for internships or maybe working as a research assistant with some of the different professors that would give you a bit of exposure to that kind of position. Another entry-level position that we see pretty regularly is in medical writing and editing. So this is a job where you write or edit documents that go to the FDA or other regulatory agencies. So these are going to be documents that describe how clinical trials are run, scientific details on the drugs that are in development, and maybe reports that describe the results of the clinical trials. So for a job in this area, you'd be looking at a degree probably in English with an emphasis maybe on technical writing or medical writing if the university offers it, and any pharmaceutical research or manufacturing courses that you could take. You would also want to have extra knowledge in software tools like Microsoft Word, since that's where the majority of your work would be done. And maybe look at getting a student membership to an organization like the American Medical Writers Association. So in my group, more on the technical side, we have entry-level positions in what's called document control. And requirements for education really vary depending on the company. Some, if you look them up on Indeed, entry-level document control requires only a high school diploma. Others want a 2-year degree, some want a bachelor's degree. But these are going to be roles that basically involve being a super user in the company's quality management system, which is where you would generate documents that would be used in the lab. You would be reviewing those documents, maybe scanning them and putting them into the quality management system, and often managing archive rooms where you would store hard copies of laboratory notebooks or any other documents that need to be retained. Some of the people that work on my team do what's more called regulated IT. We have a specialized role where we are following regulations of the FDA as they apply to software systems. And if you're interested in that kind of field, I would really recommend that you look at a degree that combines technical writing and coursework in software life cycles and development. So if you're looking at IT courses, you would definitely want to focus more on software development, because in my role, it's important to understand aspects like gathering user requirements, doing software testing, validation, system maintenance, configuration maintenance, and change management. Also, for those kind of roles, you would want to look at student memberships in groups like STC, which is a Society for Technical Communication, great for technical writers, and ISPE, which is the International Society for Pharmaceutical Engineering.
That I'm so glad that you mentioned these memberships along with everything else, because it's just a great way to both learn about a field as well as to be involved and to network. So thanks for mentioning.
Yeah, they really are. And, the student memberships are often at a really reduced price. So they're really great for students.
Thank you. That's very comprehensive. Appreciate it. Let's go to Oliver. If you've got a whole gamut from manufacturing to laboratory, so please help us out on what we can expect in your field for career options.
Of course. So first off, I've always grown up with an interest in both the arts and the sciences. So this is a very interesting career path that I landed on that allows me to really enjoy the best of both worlds. I get to use science on a daily basis to problem solve, and also art in terms of, when it comes to color matching, different color cosmetics, or looking at textures and, interesting types of applications. And when you're talking about like the feel of something, the dry down time, the aesthetics of a given formula and a certain product that we're working on. So first and foremost, I would say if you're interested in the sciences, that's why we're all having this conversation. It would be best to have a degree in either biology, which is where I came from. I was trying to get into medical school, and then I realized how the lifestyle is just not something that would suit my long-term, lifelong willingness to be in that type of a field. So I started looking at other career pathways, and anything from a biology degree to a chemistry degree to a biochemistry degree, I think would be the most appropriate. And that being said, taking these science courses, whether in high school or later on in college and university, you take a lot of laboratory courses where you get to basically be hands-on and learn different techniques in the laboratory environment. And I love doing just being involved in the lab environment in college. So that's kind of what led me here. And you can expect to be able to apply this similar skill set, myself being a cosmetic chemist by trade. This is what I do now. But being interested and involved in everything from looking at the different foods we purchase, looking at the ingredient lists, being able to decode those. So if you're interested in food sciences, nutrition, material sciences, I know everything from the Defense Department to various different governmental organizations use, you know, would love to have people with my type of skill set to be, you know, inventing new and unique materials for, you know, astronauts, for, you know, military purposes, for, you know, renewable clothing, renewable materials in, you know, automotive and other types of different fields. So you can really use this type of a science platform to go into so many different industries that where you can apply the scientific background and this manner of scientific thinking that is being you know, basically supported and developed in us. And everything from pharmacology, as I mentioned, food and drink. You can go into, you can join an organization named SCC, which is what I do specifically. It's called the Society of Cosmetic Chemists. And it is a national organization with a branch in every region. There's one here in Los Angeles. And that basically opens up an entire world that you think it's a very small industry, and it is, but there's so many countless people and brands involved in this type of a technology.
Whoops. Thank you. That is really fascinating. Would you like to tell us about your background?
Yes, of course. So I studied biology in order to get into
No, I'm
medical
sorry.
school.
I didn't mean your background I meant your
Of course.
visual, the visual that's
visual.
behind you.
Yes, this is actually something that my folks, we are a family-owned business, and my parents, my father being the senior chemist here, he was visiting New York. Him and my mother were in Manhattan, and they saw a street artist that had that was painting these just freehand painting these, and
Wow.
they decided to just take a risk, and you know, being that we manufacture cosmetics, this seemed appropriate. So they purchased these, and the gentleman took cash and shipped these over, and now every time I get to use this as my background. Otherwise, it's the lab where there's a million different chemicals and you're kind of getting distracted looking at all these things. So I don't know which one's more
Right.
appropriate or distracting.
Well, this definitely draws attention. So I figured, I'm sure somebody else is thinking the same thing. So I figured I'd ask.
Of course, of course.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I hope everybody's got a good background. Remember, just put into chat any questions, any thoughts. We had a few come in earlier, which we'll get to later. But please do go ahead and put in your questions. Let's see. We're going to, I thought it was everybody. Okay, so let's go on to the career pathways. Now we're going to ask each panelist to share your personal career pathway, education, roles of a mentor, what really influenced you to go where you're going. If you found any barriers, you know, that's always interesting is, you know, what challenges or barriers did you find as you scoped out your pathway? And where do you think you might go next, if not where you are right now? So I'm going to start this time with Meghan. Meghan, you're on.
Thank you. All right. So I attended Massachusetts Maritime Academy, which is one of the 7 maritime academies located. You guys are pretty close to Cal Maritime. So it is a regimented college. So I wore a uniform. I went to morning formation every morning, and I studied marine science, safety, and environmental protection with a minor in marine biology, which is a very large science. So I covered everything from OSHA to EPA to the marine science, marine bio side. And that's where I kind of found my niche. And I found that I loved working with education with marine mammals and educating people about ocean sciences. I started with the North American Marine Environment Protection Association as an intern back in January and February of this year. I graduated Mass Maritime in June of 2022, so pretty recently. But in January and February, I was an intern where I worked with the education team, and I traveled down to Houston and I spoke with 4 local high schools about what I was doing, my career paths, where I was going, and just kind of how they could get into that and expand their view on the maritime industry and marine science is similar to what we're doing today. And then I took on a position as the assistant director for a marine science summer camp here in Massachusetts, where I took over as program director while I was still finishing my degree. So I'm currently program director at the Cape Cod Maritime Museum, where I run that science program and all their education. And I'm also doing NAMEPA with that as kind of balancing both. But it was a really great experience. I loved working with the general public, educating people, and I loved working with kids. And so I was able to combine my 2 passions of working with students and working with the marine sciences. Some challenges that I did find, the maritime academies are predominantly male. So I was one of 9 females in my company freshman year. So you kind of become pretty close with those, but I graduated with over 100+ brothers who always have your back. So it was really great to have a huge family graduating Mass Maritime who I do still keep in contact now. Many of them are currently out on ships. My best friend is an engineer on an oil rig right now in the Gulf. So she's pretty cool. So you meet some really cool people while you're doing that. But my mentors for me were always my professors. With Maritime, it is a very small school, so you're having the same professors throughout your entire 4 years at the academy. So I had the same professor as my advisor for all 4 years, and she was able to put me in contact with a lot of great people who were able to help me understand what I wanted to do and get into those places and make contacts with people who are in the same industry that I'm in or who had the same ambitions as I did. So it was really nice to have some female connections while I was going through such a male-dominated workforce. So it was a great mentorship that I had. We do still keep in contact, so keeping those close contacts is the best thing to do.
Could you just repeat 1 or 2 organizations that you think students would benefit from either belonging to or at least putting on their radar?
I would definitely, we belong to NAMEPA. We have a great chapters, volunteer programs that we do. We do beach cleanups across North America. So that is a great organization to be a part of. Joining any local aquarium with those volunteer groups. So you have Monterey Bay Aquarium, which is a great organization that does great husbandry work. So those volunteer programs start as young as 15, and there's no experience required for those. So you can join that. And a lot of times you're volunteering 5 to 10 hours a week on the weekends, and they'll have volunteers for anything that the aquarium does. So if you want to do more event planning, or if you want to do more of the husbandry side, if you want to do more of the front desk communications with the public, a lot of times aquariums have volunteers for that as well. Staying up to date, I think, is also the best thing to do if you want to go marine science side. Just kind of following the news, what's kind of going on. Maritime Executive is a great magazine website to follow if you wanted to follow that. And then just social media as well.
Fabulous. Thank you. That was truly, truly comprehensive. Thank you so much. Oliver, let's go to you. I know you're going to start to tell us about your background. Now let's go ahead with it.
Of course, of course. As I mentioned, I was studying biology to become a physician. I was trying to get into medical school, to help people and do good, and as I started getting more and more involved with doing some research, laboratory research, specifically cancer research, because it was one of the prerequisites, requirements to graduate with a biology degree at California State University, Northridge. And I decided I really enjoyed the lab environment. I loved the kind of challenge it gave me to problem solve. And, as I started getting more involved with going to pre-med conferences, I started seeing just how much of your life is going to get absorbed by getting into medical school, and then how much of your life is up in the air based on where you match with which hospital, which clinic. And I started seeing later on some of my friends and classmates getting into medical school and the kind of lifestyle they had. And I decided, you know what, no amount of paycheck is worth that kind of a commitment. At least, you know, once I started doing the hospital volunteer programs, I started seeing that, okay, this is the environment. You're constantly surrounded by people that are sick, dying, in pain, angry. And I just said, you know what? I want a more of a calm lab environment where I get to deal with people sometimes, but with, you know, materials and ingredients at other times. And, you know, doing a little bit of at-home mixology over the weekends, you know, with some cocktail crafting and a little bit of, you know, amateur cooking. You know, I need to still tune those skills up a little bit higher. But it got me to think about, you know, what my father had done, which was get into pharmacy. He genuinely loved just the chemistry aspect of it. And as a pharmacist, he found after 1 or 2 years that he was just counting pills all day. So he decided to get into this industry. And so I would say, you know, unwittingly, he became my mentor. And as I started getting into this industry and working as his lab tech, first starting on the production floor, looking at how these products, these cosmetic batches are manufactured, filled, assembled into the packaging, and all the human, you know, hands and eyes that are constantly involved on these products that we take for granted all the time. It just grew my interest more and more. And going to SCC, Society of Cosmetic Chemists meetings, and going to some of these events and seminars and seeing that this is an entire industry. There's, you know, thousands, tens of thousands of people and companies and suppliers of raw materials, botanical oils and fragrances and flavors and effects pigments like shimmers that change as you look at them from different angles. And these all go into the makeup, the cosmetics, you know, that are being used daily without anyone thinking twice about them. It just became so fascinating to me. And I use these same skills in so many other parts of my life. As I mentioned, cocktails, with cooking. My wife loves my cooking. So, you know, part of that comes with what I do here. You know, it helps me problem solve, troubleshoot in the kitchen. And, you know, we have people coming into the sciences that start a lot of times as either interns or lab technicians in the lab that take specs on the cosmetic batches that are manufactured, and they recommend little adjustments and tweaks to adjust the pH, maybe the texture or the viscosity, the thickness of a batch is not what it should be. Maybe the color isn't right, so you have to use different pigments to color correct these lipsticks and cream blushes. So it really is a fascinating field. And, you know, we do have people that come in as a QC chemist, the quality control chemist that work with me in the lab, taking specs and doing those things, and basically bring in the interns and the lab techs under their wings and helping them up. We also have people that are on the floor, on the production area, where they like the hustle and bustle of the manufacturing part of things. And they look at troubleshooting aspects that are, you know, on the production line. Oh no, something's not translating right. It's not filling the correct way. And they try to fix those and address those problems.
Thank you. You know, I think our time clock must have, something happened to that. But so that's why I would thank you for pausing, because I do want to make sure we have enough time. But yeah, it's amazing how career pathways can just wave a little bit, and the influence of a family, and you are a family business. Yeah. So that also makes it interesting. Let's go to Raygena. Raygena, your career pathway is quite an interesting one. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. So never in a million would I have thought I worked in construction. Starting off with my background in college, I went to a private university in Riverside, Cal Baptist University, majored in political science, thought I was going to get in politics because from middle school, 8th grade, all the way to 12th grade, I was a part of a lot of organizations that dealt with politics, running campaigns. So I thought I was going to be the next change agent for Los Angeles. But of course, politics in Los Angeles, I live a private lifestyle. So I decided to go into education. So from there, graduating college, I went into education. I worked at a school and I was a program director for both the elementary middle school, running projects and running programs for the different schools that I worked with, and making sure schools were equipped, students were equipped to connect and start their own businesses or connect with industry experts. And so from there, I always talk to students about the importance of your network. That's how I got to my job today, my network. You always invest in yourself, no matter what age or what grade you're in, even after high school or even college. Investing in your professional development. That means investing into stuff that you're passionate about. I was passionate about education, so I invested in my professional development program where I built my network up, and someone from one of my networks was like, hey, you already do this at this school. Is there a way that you can do this for this historic project at LAX? And so that's kind of how I got into my particular pathway. And I always stress the importance of your network is your net worth. And that's how you basically get jobs, especially in Los Angeles. I feel like the more people that you know, the more opportunities that bring to you. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Any challenges along the way that you had to overcome?
Challenges, yes, absolutely. I would say starting straight out of high school or college, I thought that I would have an opportunity and get like an amazing job, and it took time. I worked at Budget Rent-A-Car Place right across from the street from the office that I'm at now, and that's just a transparent moment for me. Like, hey, it's patience, taking time and still continue to critique your work and getting better at it, and eventually you will get a greater opportunity that you've never expected. Just like COVID. Expect the unexpected. That's kind of like everyone's life. Expect the unexpected because you never know where life is going to lead you. Another one, a thing that I wish I would have took on, and I want to pass on to the students that are listening today, take on opportunities, always ask questions, and definitely get invested into an internship program. Internship programs help you basically build the insight that you need in order to get into the career pathway that you want to get into. Internships are also paid opportunities, and it helps you build your network to attend conferences, to meet people that work in the specific industry that you're trying to work in. So I definitely highly recommend internship opportunities when they arise, and always ask questions, no matter what. Even if you feel like it's a silly question, use your leverage. I remember doing a LinkedIn resume workshop for Deborah at one of the schools. And I always talk to my students, even before then, and I always stress the importance of LinkedIn and how it is it plugs you into so many great opportunities that you would never expect will happen for you if you just go for it.
Yeah. Yep. And very often that's how we get our panelists, is my or one of our folks meeting them through LinkedIn or through a conference. So thank you for all that sage advice. Meghan, out there on the East Coast, tell us how your career pathway doesn't seem to have really moved too much, but what inspired you into this area, and any challenges that you found along the way?
Yeah, I fell into the maritime industry completely on accident. My junior year of high school, I was stuck in traffic, and my dad saw the sign for Mass Maritime and said, "We're going to take a tour." And I went, "No way that I am going to like a maritime academy or anything." So I'd seen student years, like, it's not really my thing, and I fell in love with it. And being where I am now, it was kind of just like an aha moment. I was very fortunate and very lucky to have a connection, a group of people going into the academy. I knew very early on that I wanted to do marine sciences, but I hadn't really figured out if I could make what I really wanted to do, which was education. And I realized I could combine those two things. And so kind of falling into the maritime industry and having this marine science side to it, and then attending a maritime academy, I kind of got the best of both worlds with that. And I was very fortunate to have a job before I graduated, which is very, very lucky. And I'm very blessed to have that. And it was just such a wonderful experience. And I have loved working with education. I was a camp counselor as a kid. My parents are teachers, so I grew up in a teaching family. So I'm just kind of carrying on the legacy of being an educator. And so I've got a lot of places to go. I am still on the younger side, still very early in my career, but I do love where I am. So I do see myself staying at these two organizations for the time being, for the foreseeable future.
Fascinating. And I find it fascinating that you said that you've always been interested in things to do with maritime. Did anything in your growing up inspire that?
My grandmother took me to the beach. Every summer we'd come to the Cape and we would walk along the beach early in the morning, and she'd point out different kinds of shells. I grew up on the water boating. I was a young sailor, sailing with my father, sailing Long Island Sound, the Hudson River, Cape Cod Bay, the canal up here. So I've kind of been on the water my entire life. I didn't realize how much of an impact it had on me until I was choosing my career. My dad goes, I wish I did what you did. And he's like, I wish I was able to find the academies and go through that. And so he was a sailor. So it was kind of just growing up into it, in a sense of just being on the water since I could walk, basically, with my grandmother and my mom, and just kind of a family thing that's been passed down with the love of the ocean.
Well, and that's good inspiration for all of us in Southern California and the LA area. We certainly have plenty of water around us. So maybe some of us that are listening in will say, oh, gee, maybe I ought to take a better look at that ocean and what's there and the boats that are there and the oil rigs that are out there.
We know more about outer space than we do about the ocean. 5% has been discovered. So there's a lot to discover out there. So maybe someone here is going to name a whole new species after themselves when they discover it.
Wow, fascinating. Okay, well, this is, before we get into our closing words of wisdom.
Oh, Deborah, I'm
yeah.
sorry. Do you want me to go?
Did I miss you? Oh, yeah, I'm checking people off. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm being so, I'm marking off people. And actually, you were gonna be first.
Oh.
Sorry about that, Heather, please.
No,
Yes.
it's no problem at all. Sure. So when I was in college, I double majored in English and analytical chemistry, and I also had a minor in technical writing. And what I wanted to do was write chemistry textbooks. And, so I made it all the way through college and graduated and tried to get a job in that field. And there was absolutely nothing. I couldn't write them. I couldn't edit them, publish them, anything. And so I was just kind of left with this, great, now what am I going to do? But I had that minor in technical writing, and there were lots of jobs in IT because there were a lot of new software programs being developed, and they needed people to write online help for all of these software programs. And so when I got my first job, they literally sat me down in front of a computer terminal and turned on the software and said, okay, write all about it. And it was just like, okay. And, I ended up learning the software, but it started a trend. And I started getting a lot more jobs in IT, usually around software, people either needing help documentation written or writing procedural instructions, reports. And eventually it got to the point where I was the person who knew the most about the software. And so then I was getting jobs managing the software systems and teaching other people how to use them. And everything just kind of, rolled on from there. And if you look at it, it's such a huge shift, because it was analytical chemistry and that's what I was going to do. And I end up in IT, which is a really big jump. But, I had that background in technical writing, and I know that I've hit it kind of hard when I've been talking today, but having professional skills in writing is a really, really highly transferable thing, to have expertise in, and it can really take you to a lot of different areas. So I really credit that work that I did in technical writing to get me going. And right now at Xencor, where I'm at, so not only do I do the technical side of the systems, where I'm doing the IT and the configuration and writing the documentation for it, I also have a team of people under me that take care of a lot of different aspects of the software. And my goal is to teach them so that I am, completely obsolete, because I want all of them to take over for me. Because, I'm, interested in my career too, and there's other areas that I want to go to. And as far as development, I'm really interested in building high-performing teams where I'm at, and creating environments where people really feel open to, express their ideas and find new solutions for things. That's really important to me. As far as challenges that I've met along the way, to be honest, I have been my biggest challenge to overcome. So I have been saddled with doubt and, feeling like I don't belong, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not good enough. I have always been my worst critic when it comes to my career. And it really just takes a lot, to find your place and, to just, really start to believe in yourself and your skills. And when people give you positive feedback, to definitely take that to heart. I know a lot of times we remember the negative, but we really have to embrace the positive feedback that we receive and let that guide us.
Very inspirational. Thank you. And we know that you must create a wonderful work environment, because one of our former speakers, Stephanie, who works with you, referred you to be part of us today.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you. And thanks to Stephanie, definitely. So that's very interesting about, they talk about imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you had heard in your, since that seems to be an issue for you? As you say, you're your own worst barrier.
So it wasn't a term that I really understood until much later. I've been in the industry for almost 30 years now. And so it was more just, not believing that what I was contributing really had value or any of that. But, I had to believe in my own self-worth and my own work product, and that it was actually making a difference, and that it was assisting other people, and, to really embrace that. It's really easy to believe some of the negative thoughts that you have going through your head, but, we have to push that emotional mind aside, so that we can, realize our own value and self-worth.
Thank you. Thank you. Well said. In terms of questions that have come in, a couple of them were already answered, such as opportunities, internships, but let's direct it to high school students. If very, very briefly, each of you could, and you can do it on your own, just let us know if you have a response to this. The question is, what opportunities and/or internships should high school students interested in a career in life science be taking advantage of? Or, where will they find, where will a high schooler find these kind of opportunities? Heather, while you're on, are there any that you can think of, or how they find them?
So much depends on what aspect of the life sciences you're interested in. I mean, as we've heard from all the speakers today, there's so much variety in the life sciences. So I would really say that the first step is to really identify which aspect you are the most interested in. And then, like Raygena said, utilize LinkedIn, utilize your network, find, people in industries that may be open to that. You're going to have to do research, go out to websites, look at the careers page, see if there's internships available. So it's, I wish that there was a website that had everything listed and said, these are all the internships. You have to work for it a little. You need to start looking, but definitely utilize the people around you, your parents, your teachers, your career counselors, everybody that you have access to. Make it known what you're interested in and what you'd like more information about. And so many people want to help, but you have to make your interest known and have an idea of where you want to go. And then from there, it can develop.
Good point. You have to talk about it, let it be known, whether you're high school or whether you're an adult. Would anybody like to add to what Meghan said? Raygena?
Yes, I put in the chat 2 organizations that we're well acquainted with, which is ASCE, which is American Society of Civil Engineers, and they have a plethora of different opportunities for students who are interested in different avenues, as well as SoCal NOMA. They host a summer camp every year that is for students. So I would highly recommend those 2. And again, just reaching out. Deborah's a great, connector. She's with the WIB, and they have so many great, organizations and companies that they work with that have great opportunities for our students. So definitely reach out to Deborah, because she's connected to all of us. And
thank you.
Of course, always keep her in mind and send over opportunities to her to see like, hey, We have an internship opportunity this summer. We need 2 students. Are you able to? And that's how you connect with Miss Deborah and let her know, like, hey, I'm interested in this particular avenue. Are there any opportunities? People are always looking for people, especially young people, because we're relying on you all to pick up, and we're passing the torch to you all.
Thank you. Thank you. And maybe Amelia, when you get a chance, maybe you can put in our resume portal link into the chat for everybody.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let's go on to the next question. How did you know whether the career path that you chose, let's take the one that's where you are now, was the correct one for you? How do you know it's the correct one for you? Oliver, can you kind of give some insight to that?
Yes, of course. I never thought up into my 20s, when I was in university, when I was in college, that as I saw it at the time, that I'd be playing with women's makeup all day, every day. And that's what I thought Dad was doing, but in all honesty, I knew it was the right field for me when at night I started catching myself, whether winding down, whether, going home, taking a shower, getting ready for bed. And I still, my mind is going to this formulation challenge, this eyeshadow, why is it so liquidy? Why is it that when we made a small, like 100-gram sample in the lab, it's a certain texture, it's like firm and rubbery and kind of cool, like Play-Doh. But when you make 100-kilo batch, it's all liquidy. What went wrong? What can we do about that? And so inevitably, I catch my mind drifting towards these kind of challenges, these issues with work. And I recognize that, you know what, maybe I am in the right field. Maybe it's the same as when I saw, something on Netflix or something on TV about these, Master Chef or Drink Masters or whatever these cooking shows are. And that concept can apply to here. Well, it's my own form of entertainment that if your mind is constantly going back to it, it's because it's holding your interest, it's holding your attention. And so what I would say is follow your hobbies. Science is my hobby. It was my educational path, but the fact that I get to apply science and I also get to dabble in art, which I love, you see the art right here, but art when it comes to aesthetics, textures, I get to use lots of math when you're developing a recipe, a formula. So follow your interests, follow your hobbies, and whatever you're interested in, ask someone that's working there, ask someone, by email, if you're not comfortable talking with people face to face. Hey, can you recommend how did you get into this field? How did you get into this industry? For instance, if you love cars and you love to go to the auto show, study engineering so you can create the cars of the future. If you love food, and cooking and going to restaurants or smoothies or whatnot, study chemistry so you can, dive into molecular gastronomy or do what I do. But when it comes to foods, there's plenty of packaged foods that we buy, and there are chemists like myself that work in foods, that work in drink, rather than in cosmetics and skincare. If you love the ocean, if you love wildlife, look at what Meghan does, all day, every day, you get to live your hobby. You get to work and get a paycheck by being in an environment and doing something that you enjoy. It's not such an uphill struggle. Obviously, nobody loves coming to work Monday morning after Thanksgiving break, guys, come on. But, once you're when you're in that environment and you get to look around and say, you know what, I'm blessed, I'm lucky, I get to do this for a living. Because it doesn't work, there's always challenges, and the world will always need sciences. We need more people, especially more women, especially more minorities with different perspectives, with different ways of thinking to come into the sciences. It really genuinely is the field of the future.
Thank you. Wow. Great recruiting, I tell you. So for our final, as we draw to a close, we love this question. We ask our panelists within 1 minute to share one final thought, one piece of advice that they wish they had been given earlier in their career journey that they are going to pass on to those that are listening to this panel. So why don't we start with Heather?
So way too often when I took a job, when I was just starting in my career, I would just keep my head down and try not to make waves and do my work. And when this happened, I usually ended up very unhappy or bored or just feeling really unfulfilled with what I was doing. And when that happened, I would usually jump to another job because I was unhappy, and that's what I thought you needed to do when you were unhappy with your job. But what I would tell everybody is you should be focusing on a career and not just on a job. And when you're developing your career, you need to actively guide it. So if you're in a good company and you have a good boss and you're feeling bored or unfulfilled, tell them that you are ready for new challenges or new responsibilities, or ask if there are any projects available that you can participate in. Because like a lot of things in life, you really need to be an advocate for yourself. And so when it comes to your career, don't be shy about making it known to your management where you want to grow and where you want to develop yourself in your career.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. And Megan, as you said, you're still young in your career pathway. But at this point, is there something that you wish someone would have told you that you would like to share?
I would definitely wish someone told me it's okay to not know. It's okay to not understand something that you're doing. I was extremely nervous being a 22-year-old recent college grad, being handed an entire summer camp and my boss going, okay, this is now yours. You are going to create this entire program. And I looked at her and I was like, okay, but there's going to be questions. And that was the best thing, because when you ask those questions and when you get that feedback from someone, you start sparking ideas. So it's okay to not know and to not understand something that's been put in front of you. Don't just fake it until you make it. Make sure you understand what you're doing. It's okay to be uncomfortable in, those moments where you don't know, because that's where you learn. Because when you ask those questions, you're learning, you're actively engaging, and that shows whoever you're working with or whoever you're working for that you want to be better, that you're not just going to put in 85%, you're going to put in that 100% to whatever you're doing. So ask those questions. Be okay with not knowing, because that's the best way to learn.
Fabulous, fabulous. What a panel. Raygena, something that you wish someone would have told you.
Yeah, I definitely want to piggyback on what Megan said. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to reach out when you don't know. I think that's something that I struggle with. I was always that quiet student that just an active listener, but it's okay to, say, hey, I actually need help with this particular, or I'm interested in this particular area. Is there a way that I can gain more insight? Is there a way that I can shadow you? Can you be my mentor? I think that's something. I was well equipped with so many people that are around me. And sometimes I would be afraid to ask, like, hey, can I mentor you in this particular area? Or can I get feedback, especially with resumes, asking more than one or two, 5 people, 10 people. Can you look over my resume? Can you provide any insight? Because I'm very passionate about this and I really want this internship opportunity. I really want this job opportunity. If you know of any other opportunities, ask for it. I feel like asking is something that the world has made where it's kind of hard to do, but it's okay. It doesn't make you look crazy. It makes you seem that you're very passionate about a particular area, a particular hobby, and you want growth. Growth is important as a human. Another thing I want to tap into is research. Research is everyday, all day life. It's not only when you get out of your studies, it's when you enter adulthood, when you move down the line in your professional career, when you are teaching other people your career. Researching is everything. Reading is everything, and education is important no matter what age you are.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Oliver, something that you wish you had known earlier in your career journey.
I would say that number one is don't feel like you have to have it all figured out. nobody, here's a secret, nobody on this earth has it all figured out. Nobody knows 100% what they're doing all the time. Even the most successful, brilliant, legendary people in their fields, they don't have it all figured out. Because the moment they got it, something is changing. There's always, the field of knowledge is advancing, it's developing, and you got to have a degree of humility about you got to be confident in your strengths, but you got to be humble in realizing that you don't know it all. And look, always be curious, always be, be committed to lifelong learning. I know that's a lot of different key pieces of advice here, but there's just, I was so bored in high school when I was just limited to, school and then home. But there is a whole world out there. And the moment you get into college or university, you realize, talking with people from so many different backgrounds, there's a whole world out there. Yes, it's a small world, but there are so many multitudes of industries and fields and hobbies and things that you can find interesting and just fall in love with and develop a brand new career path that is unique to you and nobody else. So don't feel you got to have it all figured out. 43 years old, I don't have it all figured out. There's even adults don't know what they want to do when they grow up. Trust me on that.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. I'm going to just ask the audience. I know we have adults and students in the audience. Is there anybody that would like to add to anything that's been said today? Or again, to ask a question or just add out of your own personal experience? If you do, just unmic yourself and ask, or tell us what you'd like to add. Anybody? Give you a minute to get brave.
I have
No?
a question.
Yeah. Can you speak a little louder?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, I have a question for the people. I mean, not the people, but like the speakers. Did you find yourself in any point in your choosing your career or being committed to your career giving up?
Oh, do you ever want to give up? Oh, that's an interesting one, Madeline. Would anybody like to answer that? Feel free. I won't, call you one by one.
Yeah, I felt like I was giving up when I said I don't want to go to medical school. I felt like I'm tapping out. I'm taking the easy way out because of how difficult a path that would have been to go into medical school, to become a doctor. I felt like I was giving up, but in doing so, I found a new career. And if you're not certain about a career, well, look, get a job in it, see how you like it, because volunteering in a hospital allowed me to realize, I was an EMT for 1.5 years, riding around on an ambulance with a partner. Sometimes you're driving, sometimes you're in the back while your partner's driving. That was fun and exciting. But then going into the hospital environment, I realized that wasn't for me. So try something, just like you don't know what kind of foods you like until you taste it, you try it, you don't like it, that's okay. Move on, try something different. It's not giving up. You're learning more about yourself every time you do that.
Anybody else? Thank you. That was great.
I'll add, I'm sure a lot of students can relate. COVID. I was in college when COVID hit and we completely evacuated the academy. Half of my classes got shifted, moved. The classes that I needed for my minor were no longer being offered. And I was like, well, what do I do now? And so at that current moment, I was like, do I stay? Do I go somewhere else? Do I take a year off and do I work? And I ended up staying through COVID and doing online school and the half online school and then the completely in person. And so just going through all of that, it may seem tough and it may seem this large issue and this large boulder ahead of you that you have to move, but there is a way around it. No matter what it is, there is a way that you can get through it, that you can move around it, that there will be something good at the end. It's not bad all the time. And even if you don't know what you're doing, that's not giving up. It's like Oliver said, that's you trying new things, that's you discovering yourself. It's not you giving up. It's you saying, okay, this isn't what I want. That's okay. It's okay to not know, and it's okay to not like something.
Excellent. Okay, so it's almost 5:30. Thank you all for hanging in there. I first of all, sincerely, on behalf of all the South Bay Workforce Investment Board and all of the folks that tuned in today and that will be tuning into the recording. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Raygena. Thank you, Oliver. We really, really appreciate your taking not only the time, but the passion, the commitment that you obviously have to both your careers, your work, and to education, and to inspiring the next level workforce. So we truly appreciate it. And as a reminder, this will be uploaded in probably within a week or so. And anybody can access all the recordings through, just go onto YouTube, look up South Bay Workforce Investment Board and do the section on pre-apprenticeship. That's where they live. So thank you, Amelia or Donovan. Anything else?
Could just the Bioflex students just please stay a couple minutes after? That would be great.
Okay. And everybody else, thank you so much. Have a good rest of the week. And we hope we will be seeing all of you at other programs and in life. Thank you again. Take care.
Thank you, Deborah. This was great.
Thank you, Heather. Thanks so much.